The wind tore through the trees like a scream. Snow devoured the trails, erasing every path. Nothing moved except the shifting white silence that blanketed everything from the jagged mountaintops to the frozen Evers. It was just past noon. In the Bitterroot Mountains, straddling the border between Montana and Idaho, bright, blinding, and deadly cold, Kodiak was a giant of a doggone. Alaskan Malamute with thick silver fur and eyes the color of melted amber. He was bred for this wild. He didn't just survive it, he belonged to it. The Callahan family had trusted him on 1,000 walks before, through forests, over ridges, into the snow, and always back again. But today was different. Kodiak stepped off the porch like he always did, his massive paws crunching into fresh powder. He looked back once, sat the cabin tucked between the trees and then vanished into the white. When an hour passed, the unease settled in. Sarah Callahan stood on the porch, arms wrapped around herself, staring into the trees. Her husband, Matt, scanned the ridge through binoculars. Their kids sat by the window, calling Kodiak's name every few minutes, their voices growing smaller each time. 2 hours. Then 3. No paw prints. No howl. No movement. This wasn't just snow, it was a wall of ice. Visibility reduced to nothing. They couldn't follow, not without risking their own lives. He's smart, Sarah whispered. He always comes back before sunset. But her voice had lost its certainty. Kodiak had never stayed out this long. Not in a storm like this. By nightfall, the temperature had dropped below 0. Sarah and Matt took turns standing outside with a flashlight, calling into the void, praying for an echo, bark, anything, but there was only wind. In silence, the storm eased by morning, but the forest was unrecognizable. Trees bent under snow's weight, trails erased. The world had been rewritten in white. Matt packed his boots, ray gear, flares, and didn't say a word. He didn't need to. They were both thinking the same thing. Kodiak was out there, alone, or worse. Sarah stayed behind, scanning the tree line with tears frozen in her lashes. The kids clutched Kodiak's favorite blanket and refused to eat. That night, no one slept. By the second day, volunteers joined. Locals, park rangers, a drone team from Missoula. The Callahans handed out maps, photos. He's huge, gray and white. Looks like a wolf, but friendlier. He always comes when called. But the forest didn't care. It swallowed voices, swallowed prints, swallowed hope. The third day, desperation bled into fear. Sarah stopped making coffee. Matt stopped shaving. The kids stopped asking. They didn't say it, but something was breaking. What could keep a dog like Kodiak from finding his way home? Matt pushed deeper into the woods, snow up to his knees. Trail markers buried or blown away. Each breath was a ghost in the air. On a second ridge, something changed. Cassie, a bloodhound, stiffened. Her nose dropped. She pulled toward the creek. Bedware, the snow had crusted into brittle glass. Then she stopped. A single paw print. Huge. Alone. Ice curling at the edges. Nearby, a broken spruce branch. Fur snagged on the bark. No trail. No other signs. Matt knelt, brushing snow from the frozen print. His gloved fingers trembled. Sarah arrived minutes later, dropped to her knees beside him. Do you think it's him? Matt didn't answer. The forest had given them a clue but no comfort by the 5th morning. The coffee pot stayed cold. The house was too quiet. Sarah paced between windows, boots still on. Her phone buzzed. No news. Still searching. Nat! Barely spoke. Just dressed. Zipped up. Disappeared into snow like Kodiak had. By noon, the new search team arrived with thermal drones. But the forest stayed still. No heat, no movement. That night, Sarah lit a single candle in the window. She filled Kodiak's bowl, not because she expected him, but just in case. Matt came home after midnight, lips blue, beard rimmed with ice. He stood in the doorway, silent. They didn't cry, just stood there, frozen, like the world outside. At 2 a.m., her daughter crept downstairs and placed Kodiak's toy on the porch. I don't want him to be alone, she whispered. Day 6. The sheriff suggested scaling back. We've covered 30 miles. It's hard to imagine. He didn't finish. Sarah nodded. Closed the door outside. Snow kept falling inside. Time kept ticking, and somewhere beyond the ridges beneath storm clouds, the forest still held its secret. Day 11. The sky cleared overnight, revealing a bitter blue horizon. At 9:12 a.m. something moved. Matt leaned forward, squinted a shape, limping, heavy. Sarah breathed. She was already running before the door opened. Then there he was, Kodiak dragging himself through the snow, coat matted, legs trembling, one paw barely touching the ground, but his eyes, they were still alive. He collapsed at the steps. Sarah dropped to her knees, sobbing, pulling his head into her lap. Matt knelt beside them, stroking Kodiak's ice-covered fur. The children clung to what they could reach, crying and laughing all at once. But they didn't see the second shape. Not at first. Not until it pressed beside Kodiak's flank, a tiny ball of frost and bone. A baby bobcat, no older than 4 weeks. Enormous paws, amber eyes. He didn't run, didn't hide. He stayed pressed against Kodiak's side, and Kodiak shifted just enough to pull the tiny creature closer. Sarah gasped. The kitten blinked up. At Hercom, trusting, he brought him back, Matt whispered. The kitten nuzzled under Kodiak's chin and closed his eyes. He hadn't just followed the dog, he had been carried inside. The bobcat didn't move from Kodiak's side. Not even. For the vet, they named him Briar. He suckled at Kodiak's fur, not for milk, but comfort. The vet tried to lift him. Briar panicked, clawed his way back to Kodiak's side. He thinks Kodiak is his mother, Sarah whispered, and no one corrected her. But 3 days later, State Wildlife Officer arrived. You have 72 hours to prepare for transfer. They said. The Callahans pleaded. They've bonded. You won't understand. The officer handed over a notice. No exceptions. The countdown began. Sarah didn't sleep. She searched for a Wayne legal loophole. By morning, she had sent petitions, emails, calls. Then the video went viral. Briar climbing onto Kodiak's back, curling up, hugging him. 60,000 views. Then 200,000. This isn't just survival, one commenter wrote. This is love. A non-profit group, Northern Wildlife Alliance, called We Saw the Video, said a woman named Elena. We can help. But you may have to surrender Kodiak temporarily too. Sarah's heart cracked. Could they survive another separation? Can we re-yard them in? When the arbor plant, when I panicked, he clawed onto Kodiak's back, shrieking. Then Dashalina arrived. She handed over a signed emergency order, joint sanctuary placement, licensed, safe. Together, Matt carried Kodiak into the warm van. Alina cradled Briar, who immediately crawled into Kodiak's side. They left together, not torn apart, not broken by rules. Weeks passed. At the sanctuary, Kodiak healed. Briar grew, learned to climb, to stalk snowflakes, to sleep alone. But every Sunday, the Callahans visited. Every Sunday. Briar waited by the gate, and every Sunday, Kodiak stepped out of the cars, lower but steady. They curled into one another. In the grass, no leash, no fear. Some bonds are forged by survival. Others, it's by something deeper. And when you watch stories like this, you're not just witnessing rescue, you're helping rewrite what it means to care. Subscribe to Pawthos, where every animal's story becomes a voice, and every voice becomes hope.